What happens when history holds its breath, and the world waits for a single move? A bitter gray dawn settles over Transnistria. Heavy fog drapes the ground, muffling every sound and blurring every shape. Out of the clouds, transport planes approach, silent, low, nearly invisible to radar. Inside, paratroopers are strapped in, faces unreadable, their focus sharpened to a single point. No one speaks. There is no room for jokes, memories, or fear, only instinct and the weight of everything about to unfold. This is not the thunder of conquest or the roar of invasion. This is an operation carved from intention, careful, deliberate, and almost invisible. The world beyond watches, holding its breath alongside those on board. If the silence holds, armies may never march. If it breaks, war could tear across borders before the sun has fully risen. Every second, the edge between peace and chaos sharpens. The paratroopers check their gear, every movement rehearsed to perfection. No shouts, no panic, just the practiced rituals of soldiers who know that the quiet before action can be deadlier than action itself. This is how the world can change, not with explosions, but with the hush that comes before history turns. Let's step into that tense morning, where every breath could decide history. As boots touch frozen ground, the echo of that silent landing ripples out, to command centers, capitals, and anxious watchers everywhere. Transnistria, unrecognized by the world, yet undeniably real. Here, a frozen conflict is not just a headline. It is home for hundreds of thousands, a stage for international intrigue, and a crucible where fate hangs suspended. This narrow strip of land sprawls between the Dniester River and the border with Moldova. It is a place caught in perpetual uncertainty, alive, persistent, and always on the edge. For diplomats and generals, Transnistria is a strategic pawn. For ordinary citizens, it is the only home they may ever know. As the gray dawn breaks, the air is thick with a silence that feels purposeful. In the belly of a transport plane, soldiers move with calculated precision, every gesture drilled to instinct. Their faces are calm, no nervous chatter, only silent checks of gear and measured breaths. At the ramp stands Captain Lavrentiev. He is focused, detached from emotion, thinking only of maps, coordinates, and vital objectives. There is no space for fear or bravado, only the mission matters now. The signal comes, a single word, barely audible above the engines. In a practiced rhythm, the jump order is given. Parachutes bloom open above a city still wrapped in sleep, silent white petals drifting earthward, heralding change that only some can sense. Below, the city slumbers, but the ground is tense. Every footstep matters here, for a single miscalculation could ripple outward and shake the fragile balance of not just one city, but the entire region. Yet the tension is not confined to these quiet streets. Far beyond, unseen powers are watching closely, their attention sharpening with every silent step. As dawn settles over Transnistria, the world holds its breath, not just for what has happened, but for what could come next. In distant capitals, the first ripples of this operation spark urgent questions and quiet alarms. Across Europe's capitals, screens flicker to life, but no one dares make the first move. In NATO headquarters, Romanian and Polish officials lean forward, their faces lit by the cold light of satellite feeds. The incursion is clear, yet every leader hesitates, their thoughts racing between intervention and restraint. Military chiefs warn that a single order could pull the entire continent into war. Politicians count the risks, act now and risk escalation, hold back and invite accusations of weakness. Brussels, Bucharest, Warsaw, each capital is a theater of tense debate, where words weigh as much as weapons. The question lingers in every room. Is it braver to confront or to wait? Meanwhile, in the city below the gray dawn, the unease is palpable. Tiraspol stirs slowly, its people awoken by rumors that outrun even the news. Whispers fill the markets and courtyards. Something has changed, and everyone senses it. Conversations are hushed, eyes darting between neighbors. There is a sense that life itself is poised on the edge, that normal routines could vanish in a heartbeat. A local veteran, recalling the bitter loneliness of the 90s, shakes his head. Back then, there was no one watching. Now the world watches, but watching is not the same as saving. Across borders and boardrooms, the cost of a single miscalculation could ignite all of Europe. Yet each moment of hesitation risks setting a dangerous new precedent, where presence alone can redraw the map. On the ground, every cautious step, every exchanged glance, is shaped by this invisible standoff. But beyond strategy, what does such paralyzing tension do to the people living through it? To understand the true impact, we must step closer, to the streets, the soldiers, and the silent calculations unfolding in real time. Sometimes the loudest conflicts play out in silence. On the ground, Russian soldiers move with a calm, almost ritual precision. Moldovan forces respond with quiet alertness, always watching, but careful not to cross any invisible lines. There is no shouting, no sudden movements, just the subtle choreography of presence and restraint. Here, every action is a message. Even the smallest gesture, a soldier shifting weight, a glance toward a city street, carries meaning. Yet it is the things left undone, the orders not given, that truly define the day. Every non-action is a calculated risk. Commanders on both sides make their intentions clear. Their mission is not invasion or conquest, but to exist as a living barrier, a human demarcation standing between routine and chaos. They hold their lines, not with weapons drawn, but with the gravity of their presence. Meanwhile, the city stirs. Shops roll up their shutters. Bread is baked. Children walk to schools beneath a sky heavy with unspoken worry. Ordinary life continues, but everyone feels the tension, as if peace is something fragile, balanced on the edge of every breath. In this world, the battlefield is psychological. The real contest is played out in nerves and perception, not gunfire. A single mistake, a word, a step, a misread motive, could unleash consequences measured not in minutes, but in years of turmoil. The wrong move, by anyone, could shatter this delicate stillness and condemn millions to decades of uncertainty and suffering. So what can we actually learn from a morning where nothing is said, but everything is at stake? To grasp the true power of silence, we need to look even closer at the people who live through these tense mornings and how their choices shape history in ways the world rarely sees. Inaction is not always weakness. Sometimes it's the only way to save everything that matters. True power does not always roar. Sometimes it waits in the silent moments before the world changes. In Transnistria, it wasn't guns blazing or tanks rolling that shifted the balance, but how long everyone stood still, watching, calculating, refusing to be the first to break the peace. Restraint is a leader's invisible shield. The ability to hold back, to show presence without provocation, can deter disaster just as force might. When soldiers stood quietly in the pre-dawn mist, their presence alone sent shockwaves through distant halls of power. It was not aggression that shaped the world's response, but the weight of possibility. In moments of crisis, presence and perception become as critical as action. Sometimes the entire world reads meaning into a single step, a slight pause, or even a lack of movement. Leaders who understand this wield influence far beyond their numbers or firepower. Hesitation and silence, when used wisely, are not failures. They are strategies. A pause at the right moment can hold armies at bay or keep negotiations alive. In everyday life, too, knowing when not to act, when to wait, listen, or simply be present, can prevent irreversible mistakes. Every decision carries a cost. In geopolitics, a single misstep can trigger conflicts that reshape continents. In our own lives, a rash word or premature move can destroy trust or opportunities that took years to build. The stakes for restraint are enormous. Credibility, influence, and peace itself hang in the balance. Failing to recognize the power of inaction risks losing more than just a battle. It could cost peace, respect, and your place at the table. Sometimes the greatest strength is not in what you do, but in what you choose not to do. So, as history holds its breath, what will you do with these lessons? The world has watched, waited, and whispered. Now, it's time to see how this silent tension will echo into what comes next. When history goes quiet, are you truly listening, or just waiting to react? In moments like these, silence is not the absence of action, but the presence of tension. Across the hills of Transnistria, armies hold their breath, and cities stir uneasily. The world perfectly still, but never at peace. The most powerful moves are often invisible, measured not by explosions, but by the careful restraint and anticipation that keep disaster at bay. If you listen only for noise, you risk missing the meaning beneath the silence. Decisions made, or refused, shift futures more than any headline. The real turning points happen in these quiet hours, when restraint is all that stands between stability and chaos. We are trained to watch for spectacle, but the true shape of power today is found in hesitation, in the careful calculation behind each movement, and in the unspoken threats that ripple across borders. Security depends not just on strength, but on the wisdom to know when not to use it. Missing this means being unprepared when quiet transforms into consequence. The world may not announce its changes with a bang. It may come as a pause, as a shiver in the fog, or as a decision no one dares to make first, until it is too late. So next time history falls silent, ask yourself, are you paying attention to what is not being said? Are you ready for the moment when the world's quietest hour suddenly becomes its loudest?